Hello and welcome to Paul Taylor Glass Lessons. Today I'm going to be showing you how I sculpt a solid flower pendant. It's going to be done out of just one color. I'm going to use a rod of amber purple, and we're going to be making the center of the flower as kind of just a basic marble, and then we'll be building petals off of that and then building a loop. Fun way to do a sculpted, intricate looking pendant that doesn't take too much time. And this is a project that you don't necessarily have to turn into a pendant when you're done. You can attach it on a functional piece, attach it on a vessel, or leave it as a little paperweight trinket. Do whatever you want with it. It's a pretty fun project. So as far as the materials being used, like I said, just one color, one rod of amber purple, and we've got a couple 7mm clear rods as handles. As far as the tools are concerned, we've got tweezers. We may need our little knife tool to do a little bit of tweaking of the petals, and we'll have a reamer to help flare open the bail, the loop, when we're done. So let me get the camera set up here and we will get started. There's nothing prepped up for this. We're just starting with a straight rod of glass, so it'll be pretty easy to get going. Camera set up for you. That looks good. Put on our handy dandy Diddy clip. Huge thanks to the folks over at Diddy Clip for providing the lens for our lessons. Things are great. If you want to get one for yourself, hit up Diddy Clip. Alright, get this fired up. So like I said, I got one rod of amber purple. Also got just some 7mm clear rods as handles. That's it. Get our glasses on. Fire up. We're going to be pretty much just using the small flame the entire project. So we'll turn on the small flame and we'll start by just gathering up a small to medium sized gather of this amber purple. Just going to tear off the end, give us a nice clean start. Alright, so yep, I'm going to keep it angled, pointed upward a little bit. And just keep the end turning, keep just the end in the flame, and just allow it to ball up on itself and give us a nice medium-sized gather. It doesn't need to be too big. We're not going too crazy with this. In a few seconds, it should be the right size. Once we're happy with the size, we can take it out of the flame and let it kind of cool down a little bit and stiffen up. That looks good. So now I'm just going to keep this turning, allow this to cool down. There you go. Once this cools down and stops moving on us, I'm going to attach a handle straight on the end, remove the rod, and we'll have a nice little gather on a handle. So let me just clean up the end of this 7mm clear rod, get ourselves a nice clean end so we can get a good clean attachment. Tear that off into a little point, and now just attach it straight onto the center, and I'm just making sure it's nice and straight, allowing it to cool down. Once it stops moving, I'm going to remove the color rod, just heating where the color meets that gather. Tear it off. And I'm going to use my tweezers just to tear off a little bit of this excess glass. I don't want to try to melt that into the ball and risk messing up our handle. So right now I'm just going to quickly smooth out. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to get a lot of heat, but just smoothing that out. Now we have our little gather. This is going to be the center of the flower. Alright, so we're going to make 6 petals. I like to do an even number of petals, either 6, 8, 12, something like that. 10 if you're feeling good at spacing 5 and 5. But with this one, we're just going to do 6. We're going to do a layer of 3 petals, and then we're going to put 3 petals in between them. So, I am going to heat up roughly the same size gather as I did for this ball on the end of this rod. Periodically, I'm just going to flash this in the back of the flame, just to keep it from getting too cold. Once I have a good size gather, I'm going to use my paddle and my graphite pad to just flatten this, make it into a little disc. So I'm pretty happy with that little gather. I'll press it down and I'll just flatten gently, giving myself just a little flattened gather. Turn the flame down a bit. Now I am going to heat where the color rod meets that gather, and I'm going to angle it pointed down and cause it to kind of just drip and stretch a little with gravity. Just want to get that kind of down to a little bit of a taper. Now that I've got that, I'm going to heat up the side of the round gather, and I'm going to heat up the very end of the petal, and I'm going to melt that together in the flame. Just touch it on and melt it, and now flash your flame across that petal, tear off your handle. You can see right here we've got this little bit of a petal here. I'm now just going to hit the other side of the connection, make sure it's melted on smooth. Give the whole thing just a quick blast of heat. And I'm going to touch the tip, or pinch the tip, and give it just a little stretch. Nothing crazy. And now I'm going to heat the tip and tear it off with the tweezers. Leaving a nice little point. And I'll quickly just flame polish either side of the petal, just to remove any marks that were left from stretching. So there we have petal number 1. We're going to repeat this process 2 more times and give ourselves 3 nice evenly spaced petals. So back on in the flame with the rod of color, and we're going to melt to just a medium-sized gather. And the whole time just occasionally flashing our main piece in the back of the flame. We just don't want it to cool down. And I'm trying my best to get each gather the same size. This one is looking pretty good right now, so we'll take it, put it on the pad, press the paddle against it, giving ourselves that nice little flattened disc. I'm now going to heat where the rod of color meets the disc, angling it pointed up and down, and just allowing it to do a little bit of a drip. Just giving it a little stretch. That makes it easier for us to tear it off. Alright, I like that. Switch hands here. Now again, I'm going to preheat the surface of the round gather and preheat the end of the little flattened petal. Touch them on in the flame. The thin part we just stretched and tear it off. Now our petal got a little twisted, which is perfectly fine because we'll be able to tweezer it. I'm just going to flash my flame on the other side of the connection, make sure it's nice and clean. Straighten out that petal. And now I'm going to heat the tip, tear off, giving us a nice little clean point. Looks good, doesn't need any flame polishing. Now we're going to move on to the third. Again, doing the same thing, we're just trying to space these out evenly. So we have 3 evenly spaced petals that we can then put the next batch of petals in between. And we can do a little bit of overlapping with our second layer, give it a little more depth. Alright. Almost there, just making sure this third gather is roughly the same size as the other 2 petals. That's looking good. We'll bring it to the pad, flatten it with our paddle, and go into where the color rod meets the flattened disc. Keep that for a few seconds and just let gravity allow it to stretch. And now, just preheat your round gather and the end of your petal. Attach them in the flame, make sure it's nice and solid. Now I'll heat that little taper and tear off the color rod. And now it looks like we need just a little flash of flame to get that connection looking good on the bottom. That should be good. And now we'll just heat the tip and use our tweezers to tear it off. Give ourselves that nice clean point. Doesn't look like it needs any flame polishing. So there we've got our first 3 petals. We're now going to do 3 more, but we're going to put them in between And if we have to, we'll make them a little bit higher just to give a little bit of staggering. The main thing is we don't want them to touch on the sides. We just want the touching to be the connections at the middle. So, here we go, heating up our color rod. Trying to make these the same size petals. And the more petals you have attached onto your flower, the more aware you have to be of your heat, especially when you're attaching your petals, because you don't want to overheat and like have the flame brush against one of your other connections and cause that petal to flop or move or bend. Alright, again we're just now going to heat that little bit of a connection where the color meets our flattened disc. Let gravity stretch it a bit. Alright, and now we're just going to try to find a nice place to put it in between. See, preheat the surface of the center of the flower and the end of your petal. And we're going to do these staggered because there's no way we're going to comfortably fit all these in. There's that, connection's good. Now I will tear off the rod of color. Now I'm just going to go to the back here and make sure that connection is melted on clean. That looks good. And now we'll heat the tip of the flower, just making sure we got enough heat to tear it off to a little point. There we go, petal number 4. 2 more to go. And this is a fun project if you're working with little shorts and bits of color, because it doesn't require much material. And you can really mix and match and do a lot as far as getting different patterns in the flower. You can do the center as a spiral or a little implosion. Pretty much anything. This is basically just a lesson in the shaping and the forming. As far as what you do for colors is completely up to you. Alright, giving it that little stretch. And preheating the surface of the center and the end of the petal. Touching it on, making sure it's got a nice connection, making sure it's straight. Give it a little stretch. And now we will tear off where the color rod is attached. Drop to the small flame and just make sure our connection's good. And then heating just the tip, we'll use our tweezers to tear the end to a little point. Go. One more petal will do. Just make sure you keep that main piece flashed in the back of your flame. You don't want it to really lose any heat. It can lose heat, but you don't want it to get cold, especially with all those connections. You don't want to give it a reason to break. Give this last one a nice flatten. And we'll heat that area where the rod and the disc meet and allow gravity to let it stretch. And now for the final connection. Just going to heat that one remaining spot on the round gather and just the end of this petal. Touch it on, keep that connection, make sure it's solid, give it a little stretch, make sure it's straight, and now remove your rod of color. Now I'm just going to go and make sure that back side of the connection is clean. That looks good. And now I'm just going to keep the tip of the flower and give this last petal one little stretch. Pull it into a point. And there we have a nice 6-petal flower. That's pretty fun. That's going to strike out looking nice. This will be, the front of it will be the handle, where the handle is attached. Now we're just going to build a little loop. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. What I'm going to do now is, I guess one of the, for me, the easier ways, I'm going to pick what is the largest of the petals, and I'm going to attach a small gather right to the back side of that petal, and we'll use our veil biters to just pop it open into a little loop. So I'm just going to melt this straight onto the back of this petal into a medium-sized gather, and now I'm going to focus my heat just on that bump where it connects, making sure I'm not heating up the tip of the flower petal or the connection. So you can see right there, we got it just right on the back of the petal. We got our veil biters handy. Just going to give that a nice flash of heat, and we're going to go in and hopefully in one motion get this veil bit. There we go. Give it a pinch, give it a little bend, pop through. That's good. And now we'll take our little sculpting knife, and I'm just going to go in and make sure that hole is open. It's a little small for us right now. There we go. Just reaming it out a little bit, big enough to where I can get the graphite reamer inside of it. So there I've got that little veil hole popped open. Now I'm just going to hit both sides with the flame and quickly just ream one side, switch to the other, ream it. And there you go, quick flame polish. And we got ourselves a nice 6-pointed amber purple flower. And at this point you can play around heating each connection. You can bend the petals inward, you can have them curl. Pretty much whatever you want to do. Like this is a pretty open-ended technique. But now that I'm at this step, I'm happy with it. I'm just going to quickly heat, just take the chill off these tweezers. I'm going to grab the pendant by the veil. And since we, alright, spoke too soon. I was going to say, since we have a permanent connection, we may not be able to tap it off. And sure enough, I tapped off my petal. But we can melt that right back on. Our heat is still there. Petal's melted on. Now we'll just make sure that back connection's good. See, that's a good lesson on what not to do. I was second guessing myself as I began doing it, and sure enough, we had a problem. But no worries. Now I'm just going to make sure these petals are straight, because that little bit of heat right there definitely tweaked a couple. Ooh, these are looking good though. Yeah, I like that. Looking good. Alright, so now we'll try this again, but we'll do it the right way. I am just going to heat the tips of the tweezers, then grab the veil, and I'm just going to melt where this handle meets the front of the flower and tear it right off. Use the rod to just remove any little bit of clear that's left. And now a quick flame polish to the center, making sure you're not overheating it and getting your connections to move. But there you have it. Fun little 6-point flower. And like I said earlier, you can do this with as many or as few petals as you want. Let me throw this in the kiln. So that's the basic, I guess, basic concept of sculpting a three-dimensional solid flower pendant, if you're going this route. You can use as many or as few petals as you want. You can use whatever colors, patterns, anything like that. You're still going to get a really cool look. And it's, something that you don't necessarily have to use as a pendant. Use it for pretty much any project, attachments, or as just a standalone piece, and they look great. So, remove that lens. Again, thanks to Diddy Clips. You guys are awesome. Seriously, they don't pay for shout-outs or anything. They were kind enough to send me these clips to use for the lessons, and I seriously can't thank them enough. So, hit up Diddy Clips if you want your own camera lens. They fit on pretty much any phone. They've got different styles with different little makeups depending on your camera configuration. They send me a few to play around with. This is the one I like with the big, just open circle. But yeah, enough about Diddy Clip. If you guys have questions about this lesson or any of the stuff that I teach, best way to get in touch with me is to shoot me a DM on Instagram, and at the beginning of your message, just say, I'm a patron. That way when I'm scrolling through the DMs for the week and I see that, I make sure you all get priority and get your questions answered as soon as I see them. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all are awesome. Hope you enjoy this lesson and hope you have a good week. Take care.